at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Henny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with former Tiger Richard Dixon. Max Gotro here with us. Jimmy Ott will be with us later on in the show, starting in hour number 2. Slog of the Week Friday presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments. This will be our last 3-hour show of the regular season. Next week for Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, we'll be back on normal time starting at 11 o'clock, and we'll go from there. Next Friday, huge day here at Rufino's is our holiday gift card program will be starting up next week, the day after Thanksgiving. So looking forward to that. Richard, good morning. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Flag football season is over.
Flag football season's over. How do we do, man?
We got beat.
Give me some good
night.
news.
No, we finished third. The Central Bears win it all. They're the Super Bowl champs. Tough one, We went 8-3 this year. All 3 losses to the same deadgum team.
What's your buyout?
Oh man, shoot! I'll take the $15.
Okay. All right, so let's not bury the lead here. The story yesterday broke that Bryce Underwood flipped his commitment from LSU to Michigan. Pretty much the worst fears of every LSU fan that this top-ranked quarterback that's been committed to LSU since last January took an offer that, depending on who you believe, was somewhere between $10.5 and $14 million. So we'll kind of split the difference. 12 seems to be the most popular number, but who cares? It was more than LSU. It was more than LSU was offering, and it was enough to sway him. So whether it was 11, 12, 13, whatever, doesn't really matter. So let's talk about why. First of all, that he went. You can just say it's the money, and that's it. And maybe that's all it was. Maybe this was just a bidding process from the very beginning, and that was it. That was the only thing that the Underwood camp was ever looking for. I don't think that's quite accurate, but I'd say the money's probably 90% of it. This is just the college football landscape that we live in right now. There are no salary caps. There's no regulations. So he with the most money wins. That's like I said, that's about 95% of what happened here. If you want to get a little deeper than that, why did Bryce Underwood commit to LSU in the first place? My opinion. I don't follow recruiting every day anymore. I'm a happier person because of it. The end of last year, if you watched Jaden Daniels and you're a talent the level of Bryce Underwood, you looked at Daniels and said, I can do that. A couple of years from now, that could be me. I look at the talent that's around him. He's got 2 first-round picks at receiver. The team, the Heisman Trophy winner before that, had 2 first-round picks at receiver. Even the teams that did nothing but run the ball had 2 outstanding LSU NFL receivers out there. First Heisman Trophy winner had the best offensive line in the country, at least according to the people that give the awards out for such things. Last year's offensive line looked pretty good. 2 first-round picks at tackle. Okay, well, that's pretty good. If it got past the money, and again, 95, 90%, 99%, whatever number, makes you feel better today, of it was about the money. It's about the money. But if you get to the other 1% and you look at it and you say, well, you know what? Where's that massive offensive line that they were supposed to have? I don't see it. Where's the first-round receivers that they always have? I don't see them. Where's the electric running back? You might have one, okay? You might have another one on the way. But where's all of this, the coordinator that was there before? Where's he at? Where's the coordinator that was there for the first, Heisman Trophy winner. He's not there. I'm dealing with what's there now. And what's there now is, completely reworked offensive line next year, a receiver room that'll be in flux. Tight end leaving for the draft is probably a second-day pick. The one that they brought in to replace him is still developing. You might have got to all that. I don't know. Probably didn't get past $12 million. $12 million, I'll go play with, 11 clowns from Ringling Brothers. So you probably didn't get past that. But if you did, those are some things to think about. Do I think that Bryce Underwood played LSU from the very beginning? And a lot of people think that. It's like he was in it for the money from the beginning. They're all in it for the money. LSU put a pretty generous offer out there. But if the Underwood camp's plan was to play Michigan against LSU, then the Underwood camp is pretty stupid. And the reason is, if you want to leverage Michigan for money, don't use LSU.
We're not going to get there.
Use a school with some real cash. Use Texas. Use Texas A&M. Hell, if you really want to get them motivated, use Ohio State. I mean, if you really wanted to be the conquering hero and leverage Michigan for the most money that you could and spur that fan base, light a fire under every booster that's a Michigan man's ass, okay, commit to Ohio State. So I don't believe that, like I said, if he used LSU as leverage, then they're stupid, okay? Because they were way better schools, way richer schools, schools. Generally, Michigan and LSU have no rivalry, okay? There's no connection between the schools. Go commit to Ohio State last January and watch everybody, step two. So I don't think he played LSU from the beginning. I do think that, he was looking for the best, the best offer. Now, so LSU got beat on this kid, and now it's, this is, the sun doesn't come up the next day. Does it mean they're going to get beat out on every kid? It does not. This was a prospect that comes along once every so often. I've made the comparison 100 times. If this kid was playing quarterback in Gonzales, if he was at EA or Santa Mar or Dutchtown, and I use that because where he is about from, Gonzales to Baton Rouge is about from where he is to Ann Arbor. It's about, 20, 30 miles, whatever. LSU would have had a much better chance, and you would have had much more, influence, money come to the table if he'd have been a local kid. Because you can't afford to lose those kids. I told my Damian James story last week or whenever it was. So, Damian James out of Karen Crow, top player in the state, one of the top players in the country, was going to Michigan. I was there. I watched the whole thing happen. He walked in the door at the recruiting party, said, I'm going to Michigan. Falk and the boys walked in, took him next door, came back, I'm going to LSU. That's what happens, okay? You don't, when you got a local kid that is this highly rated, you do everything possible to keep them. Doesn't always work. LSU ruptured themselves trying to keep Landon Collins, and it didn't work. So it doesn't always work. But you knew that they were going to do this all the way to the end. It doesn't mean it's going to happen on every prospect, and I'm going to get to why that's important in a minute. But you got outbid on this kid, a once-in-every so often prospect that is sitting on Michigan's front porch. Okay? They couldn't lose him. They just had to do this. If he'd have turned down 12, they'd have come back with 14. If he'd have turned down 14, they'd have come back with 20. The pockets were pretty deep here. And it goes way past Dave Portnoy, by the way, if you're interested in that. It doesn't mean LSU gets beat out on every kid. It doesn't mean they don't have enough money to compete. They didn't have enough money to compete on this kid. Okay? New York Yankees have got plenty of money, but they may not be able to afford Juan Soto. Okay? They already got Judge and Cole and a whole bunch of other guys that cost a lot of money. They may be able to afford Soto, but maybe they can't. So everybody has a limit to their payroll. And this is LSU's on this particular kid. Again, because of the circumstances and the money that he was going to generate. It doesn't mean that you don't have enough money to compete. It doesn't mean that the program is over. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and get other very highly recruited kids. So with that in mind, Brian Kelly's most important, and I don't want to overstate it, but I think the most important 2 weeks of Brian Kelly's LSU tenure are from today until 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from yesterday, with the signing date coming in. He's still got a very good class. He's got to hold it together. There is a fan base right now that's ready to jump. There are recruits that are watching everything you do. Everything you do in the next 2 weeks matters a great deal. Tomorrow's game, which could matter absolutely less than nothing, to gain here, all of a sudden matters from a standpoint of perception. Who cares what bowl game gets you into? You're not going to the SEC championship game. You're not going to the playoffs. Tomorrow's just another game, except it's not, because you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on you to see how you react. Do you still have the team? Can you still put that product out on the field? Because if you do all of this and then you lose to Vanderbilt and forget the nice story about Diego Pavia and Clark Lee and the nice season they're having, you lose at home to Vanderbilt, and it's going to be keep the sharp objects away from everything purple and gold on Sunday morning. So it matters. Your demeanor on the sideline matters. Your demeanor in the press conferences matter. Your demeanor in your coach's show matters. What you say to every recruit that you're on the phone with for the next 10 days matters. Matters a great deal. Because, like I said, you got a fan base that's ready to jump. They're looking for some leadership right now. I sat right here at this same bar on 5 for 5 day. Okay? Happened, it's been almost a decade now. And they went 2 for 5 instead of 5 for 5 the day of that fateful All-Star game. And everybody was ready to jump ship. I mean, everybody. Turns out they got the 2 kids that they needed, and the 3 kids that they didn't get didn't work out. But nobody knew that day. They showed some leadership. They kept it together, and they did. That's what Brian Kelly's got to do right now. Everything matters. And while we're on that subject, everything matters once the season's over, and everything matters in the off season. You think you're done putting together practice plans, you recruited everybody on your roster, you've made all your recruiting calls, you're done for the day? You're not done for the day. You're never done for the day. If you finished all of your football duties for the day, if practice is over and you've called all the recruits you got to call and you've updated everything and you go raise some money, because you don't have enough, and you'll never have enough. No dollar figure is high enough, because this is until there's some regulations. This is not gonna stop. So your last 2 games matter. How you finish matters. How many guys you return matters. How you go in the portal matters. You're at a crossroads. This is one of those. It's not the player himself. It's what the player represents. Is there a panic in the LSU offices? Everybody will know. These 2 weeks are going to define whether Brian Kelly can hold this thing together or if he's just on a downward slope and he can't stop the bleeding. Because the rest of this class that's still there today has got to come home. You lose another 4 to 6 kids, especially the wrong 4 to 6 kids, I don't know that you can recover from that. Next 2 weeks are important, even if you don't think a game against Vanderbilt is. We're here at Ruffino's. We'll get the show started now that I got that off my chest. Get Richard's thoughts on it when we come back here. Live at Ruffino's, Log of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Come on out and see us for lunch here at Ruffino's. Hey, it worked the last time. You know, when you went 2 for 5, everybody came out here. We had drinks after the show. Everybody cussed a little bit, got really aggravated, and then life went on. Richard, does life go on?
Yeah, I mean, this is... Look, you talk about state of the program. You know, LSU, this isn't the year anybody wanted. We're not having the best 4 weeks of football. But when you're talking about programs, Michigan's 5-5 right now. He didn't go to Michigan because they look more promising next year. It's not about who has the most promising, coaching staff, team. The outlook looks better one way or the other. You said 90, 95. This is 100% money. It's not anywhere close.
You're probably right.
7 days ago, he did an interview wearing his big LSU diamond necklace.
Does he have to return that, by the way?
Depends on who paid for it. Maybe he can go change it in, get it melted down, get some good stuff made out of it.
I'd go look at that pawn shop in Detroit that was on
into an M,
the pawn shop that was on TV.
Yeah.
Not the one in Vegas, the other one. But you'll probably see that pretty soon.
Regardless, I mean, like 7 days ago, he said, "Look at what LSU's done with quarterbacks in the league," and he's talking about Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. I mean, look, Nussmeier, 6 games into the season, everybody said we're losing him next year. He's a first-round draft pick. He's had a rough last 4 weeks. Things have gotten tougher, but when you're talking about just pure quarterback play, there's not even close, LSU over Michigan. This kid 7 days ago was 100% sold. When you start floating out numbers around 10, 12, 14, whatever, I don't care, 10, 11, 12. I said this earlier, and fans might get mad. I would be almost just as upset if we got in a bidding war and paid $14 million, because you pay a kid $14 million, and I've seen a lot of number one quarterbacks not be number one quarterbacks.
Name a couple.
Mitch Mustang, when I came out, one of the biggest guys around. He did nothing. He got beat out. He didn't start at Arkansas, went to USC, played a little bit, got beat out. I mean, and there's other stories like that I can't get off the top of my head. But there's guys – Mitch Mustang probably would have been one of those guys who got 10, 12.
Brock Berlin from here was
– So you have those
wooed
guys.
by everybody.
Imagine you pay that kid $14 million, in year one he's average. People are going to start being, what type of valuation did you wasted all of our money? Blah 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 blah. Like you can be, that thing can go either way.
Yeah, he could win 2 Heisman trophies. He's a precocious talent. I don't want to sit here and poo-poo on his talent because
I'm not saying that.
I want to make sure you.
No, I've watched the kid. Looks
I know
great.
what you're saying. So,
but you can go either way on that. Which the fan base can. You can spend that money, and if he doesn't, he's a good player, not a great player. People are going to complain. So.
Right, if he was a good player at the college level, because he's been a great player in high school.
Yeah, but if he gets to the college level, he's good. And look, that's all you want a good college quarterback. You can do a lot with a good college quarterback, but everybody expects him to be great when you get that money.
Yeah, as far as the budget goes, and I think it's a good point to make. You had a bunch of money tied up in this kid, so what are you going to go do with it? Okay, You're a little bit late in the recruiting grade to jump in on anybody that you're not already in on. So let's go ahead and consider the recruiting class, the guys that you got in. You got to keep them, okay? You're seeing the buzzards are circling, okay? Everybody that was in on an LSU recruit that's high on that board from DJ Pickett on down, they're going to be circling. They're going to be coming in, and they're going to be coming in with their best offer. Now, they were going to do that anyway.
Yeah. All
right. As you get closer to signing day, you're going to do that anyway. But now it becomes a lot more magnified, and that's why I say the next 10 days, 2 weeks for Brian Kelly are crucial. What does this look like? Does it look like you still got a handle on it? For all of Les's faults, okay. After 2 for 5, he kept it together.
Yeah.
He kept the rest of the class together. He made sure Fournette got here. He made sure Jamal Adams got here. And by and large, they were okay. That's what Kelly's got the next 2 weeks. You got to convince everybody that's getting the Godfather offer from somewhere else that, hey, look, all that's changed here is one player left.
Yeah.
That's a hard job. And if you've got some more money that you got to spread around, believe me, those recruits, they know the same thing we know. How much were you offering Underwood? $6 million, $7 million, whatever LSU's last best offer was. Where's that money going? I mean, if you're a top 5 guy in LSU's class besides this, don't you go back and say, hey, man, now that you got that money, loosened up, how about beefing mine up because I got an offer from – fill in the blank.
Yeah, I mean
that's what they're going to deal with for the next 2 weeks.
You take whatever money you had, and you use that in your bank to say, okay, this is extra money we have to save these guys, or whatever's left over. You use that money to go get that transfer portal guy that you didn't want to spend on last year.
Transfer portal, right? The transfer portal becomes your life preserver a little bit as far as whatever you lose that you got to go get.
I will say one thing though that I thought was a little bit promising is. You got on Twitter last night, and a lot of those, Harlan Berry, a bunch of them, they came out in full stance. We ain't going anywhere. We didn't commit for one player. They wouldn't even name his name. We didn't commit for that guy. We committed to LSU. So there's a lot of circling around with these top recruits we had, came back in and said, we're not going anywhere.
That's encouraging.
We didn't come here because of him.
That's encouraging. You'll forgive me if I stayed off of Twitter last night.
Oh, it was interesting.
I chose to watch the game in the snow instead of dealing with what I know was mass hysteria. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for doing that research for the show because I didn't want any part of it yesterday. I've seen it before, so I
didn't listen to the fans. The fans were way worse than the commits. The commits were all pretty rallying around each other. Everything.
So that's important. That's important because again, the perception of how much trouble you're in. You've lost 3 games in a row. It hasn't happened very often in the last 25 years. You got Vanderbilt coming in. Truth be known, this might be the worst team that could be coming in right now because if you lose to Vanderbilt at home, which you haven't done, I think, since the 50s or whatever, then it looks pretty bad. Even though Vanderbilt's having a good year by Vanderbilt's standards.
It's the perception of Vanderbilt.
It's the perception of Vanderbilt. It's the perception. You got outbid for the quarterback. Bummer. Okay, sucks. I mean, today sucks. Yeah. I get it. You can't get out. You can't. This is the last thing that Kelly can do is take any time to feel sorry for himself, to take time to pout. I'm not worried about staff changes right now. You get to that when you get to that. The next 10 days are about holding your roster together. Anybody that's on the roster now that is thinking about coming back or thinking about leaving that is not somebody that you absolutely want to get rid of, you better work on keeping them. Everybody that's in that class, you better everything you can do to keep them. I'm sorry that this is the way it is now, but this is just the way it is, and that includes Garrett Nussmeier. So, the Nussmeier thing, I'm glad we got on the record on this show with it a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever it was, and every time we get asked the same thing. It is in everybody's best interest, in my opinion, and I'm not going to speak for Jimmy, but I'm pretty sure he's going to say the same thing because I've heard him say it, in his best interest to come back if he wants to maximize his draft slot. If he goes pro, is he going to get drafted? Yes. Is he going to get drafted high? Yes. Is he going to get drafted as high as he could get? I don't think so. Is he as ready as he could be for the NFL right now? No. Doesn't mean he won't get drafted high. Doesn't mean there's not plenty of money out there, but your experience level. I mean, he started less than a full season. I think he'd be better off. He decides to take the money. God bless. I understand. It's still a great big amount of money. But I would have said that if Underwood was still coming here. I wrote a column on Monday. I said, best thing is Nussmeier coming back. Best thing for Nussmeier. Best thing for Underwood. Best thing for LSU. So do you really want to shove a true freshman out there at Clemson, South Carolina next year? I didn't think so. So if you're like, man, they better go get Nussmeier now. I thought they should have done that anyway.
There's a point, and we haven't heard a lot about it, and it's kind of changed with the way that kids are reclassifying. But you know who the quarterback behind Underwood was a year and a half ago?
At his high school?
No, just rankings.
No, I don't.
Colin Hurley.
Okay.
The guy that's on our staff, on our roster right now.
Yeah.
He was the number 2 quarterback in the country before he reclassified.
Right.
So, I mean, if you said 1 or 2, we got the number 2 from that class originally. We haven't seen a lot of them. They haven't put him on the field. They've put other quarterbacks above him. But, when you're talking about pure rankings and we're talking about going and getting the best quarterback, he was the second best quarterback to Bryce Underwood originally.
I'll give him the opportunity to improve between now and next year. Let's just say so far he has not dazzled.
Yeah.
Okay? And, look, a lot of freshmen come in and it takes that year of transition and they improve greatly. So let's go ahead and give him an opportunity to do that. But he didn't step on the field and everybody went, ooh, wow, look at that guy.
No, and that's what I talk about with recruiting.
Yeah.
You can spend all this money to get the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
When he gets here, he's still got to learn it all.
So you got to do something that you're going to have to do this even if Underwood came, but your portal class is pretty important now. I mean, you've got to go fill in with some linemen and some defensive backs and maybe a wide receiver too, and now maybe a portal quarterback, whether Nussmeier comes back or not, is maybe got to be on the table. I wrote this on Monday as well. If I had one question to ask Kelly right now, the thing that concerns me way more than anything else with the current team is there was room for playing time from young players on the offensive line, in the secondary, and at wide receiver. And very few of those underclassmen took advantage of the opportunity to go earn playing time. why they didn't develop, because these are some pretty talented kids, some pretty highly rated kids, is concerning. You know, once you got past the offensive linemen that were recruited and or developed by the previous staff, it thinned out pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's concerning. Your safety play, very concerning with the kids that are sitting on the sideline that couldn't crack that lineup. Concerning.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. You've been on the wide receiver since jump. There was an opportunity to earn playing time there, especially with some of the injuries that they had out there, and some of the young kids just didn't see. I would like to know why.
Yeah.
Because that's probably as concerning as anything. We're brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Are you dealing with pain today? Okay, we're talking about physical pain, not emotional pain. You got an accident that you've been in, or an old sports injury that's flaring up, knee problems, shoulder problems, things that, neck problems, back problems, things that are keeping you from moving around as well as you want to, or they're keeping you from getting a good night's sleep. Let them do for you what they've done for my family, which is target those problem areas and get you to feeling better, whether it be the stretching and exercise routines that they can get you into, adjustments, or if you need a dry needle or electric nerve stimulation, cryo or ultrasound therapy, they can take care of you. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. We'll take a break. Live at lunch from Rufino's, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You can always get the show on demand, new LouisianaSports.net and 104.5ESPN.com. Handicast up from Monday. We went through the film of the Florida game. Let's move on from recruiting for a second. I've already done 2 more segments on recruiting than I had planned to do today, up until yesterday afternoon, but such as it is. All right, Rich, Diego Pavia, the issue of the running quarterback wasn't there for LSU last week because Lagway was playing on one leg. No. But it's back with a vengeance. And Pavia's, I don't know that he's like any of the running quarterbacks that have given them problems so far. He's not as fast as Marcel Reed. He's not as physical as Jalen Milroe. And I don't think he's as fast as Milroe either. But he's got a set on him that he's not scared of nothing.
No.
And he's a physical runner for somebody that's probably about 5'11" and change and 200 pounds. He'll stick his nose in there like nobody's business. They run this version of the triple option. To me, that's the biggest thing that scares me if I'm LSU tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that's just, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's a guy that, always has thought he was better than everybody else thought he was. He doesn't quit. He wants to make a play. He's a guy that's going to give it 110% on every rep and, try to prove everybody wrong. He's a guy that it really concerns me for this game because we haven't seemed to stop anybody with some sort of quarterback run.
Okay, so it's coming. What do you do about it? Because they knew it was coming against Alabama, or should have.
This goes way back to. This explains the last 3 losses. You go back and watch the film we've done on the Handicast. You can sit here and talk about the positions the coaches put him in, but outside of a couple of the big busts the quarterback runs made, and what I'm really talking about is A&M and Alabama. The players have to execute. The players have to do their job. They cannot overreact. They cannot, try to do too much. When you're playing against these quarterbacks, this is truly a situation where everybody has to do their job. You can't gamble. You can't go try to make a play because you don't trust the next guy to make a play. If you leave your spot, if you leave your zone, if you leave, your technique, it's going to be a big play. And that's where we've had problems is guys not doing their job.
You reckon they figured that out since the last time?
Last time I said we figured it out. We didn't figure it out. So I'm hopeful.
I have a great deal of concern about the safety play because if he breaks the first level, the LSU safety play has been so bad. I haven't seen them take a good angle very often. The 8-yard runs have turned into 18 and 28-yard runs, and sometimes 48-yard runs. I'm very concerned about that.
It's too different. Like Gilbert doesn't take a bad angle; he just can't make a tackle. He bounces off people. He tackles with his arms. He's an arm tackler. And then Sage just sometimes he expects somebody else to make the play, and then I never seen him take a great angle. I mean, so either or, you either have a missed tackle or a bad angle. But you're right. I mean, safety play has really killed us.
Go back to the other thing, which is containment, and that's on Jones and Swinson to keep him somewhat bottled up, although this kid don't mind sticking his nose between the tackles and climbing the pocket and running from that, going up the middle. So he'll take a hit, okay?
Yeah.
He's not, but you do have to keep him contained.
What makes Whit Weeks great is also could be a detriment in this game. He likes to gamble a little bit to make that play. He likes to see a gap and try to slide in there. And it's one of those games where he's going to have to pick his spots to do that. He has to do it in a key moment on a short yardage deal where you got to get the stop. But when you're playing base football, 1st and 10, you got to play to your technique.
So we'll see if they do that. On the other side, let me see how I can put this delicately. They got to score.
Yeah,
they got to score. The Underwood recruitment is kind of a microcosm of LSU's season. They hadn't committed for almost a year, but in the last 2 weeks they lost him. LSU's offense has been, pretty good, right up to the point where they get into the red zone or on the cusp of the red zone, and then they can't score. So I don't know.
I think
it's week 11. You're going to be down probably 2 offensive linemen tomorrow. The freshman offensive linemen have been underwhelming so far.
Fingers are crossed. Dellinger practiced yesterday, from what we were told.
3 weeks off of tightrope surgery.
We saw, what was it? We've seen him come back 3 to 4 weeks before. I'm trying to think of the quarter. Tua came back. But, man,
it's possible.
To me,
he could play.
There's obviously other issues on the offense. I mean, everybody wants to say it started in the second half of A&M. I say it started at Arkansas when we could not get in the red zone, kick 5 field goals. But for the most part, when things have gone bad this season, it has been after Dellinger went down. And Will Campbell kind of alluded to, issues we've had online. He goes, I played with Dellinger for 3 years. It became like osmosis. We knew where everybody was going. We didn't have to talk. We could look at each other. It was just fluid. And now you're putting in guys that are having to learn what's going on, and it slows up the guys with the tackles.
Everything you just said aggravates me. Okay, here's why. I get the combination of those two. I get the partnership. I understand the relationship between offensive linemen and blocking schemes and how the familiarity is so huge. But what aggravates me is a left guard goes down and your whole offense goes to crap. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying. And if that is the case, then you got bigger problems.
Well, we had bigger problems before that. We couldn't run the ball.
Right. Okay. So when he was there, they couldn't run the football. But I'm sorry, and this happened down in New Orleans too. Okay, Eric McCoy went down and the whole season went to crap. He's a great player. All right, McCoy's a terrific player. Dellinger is a terrific player. One offensive lineman goes down and the whole thing goes to hell? No, I'm sorry. That you got to be a little bit better. Ohio State lost their starting center Tuesday. Okay, tore his Achilles in a non-contact injury in practice 4 days before their biggest game of the year. You think Ohio State's going to be able to run the ball tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think Indiana's got a good shot tomorrow. But what I'm saying is if one offensive lineman goes down and your entire operation craters, that doesn't speak real well of how you've developed.
It goes back to what you said is, how have they developed over the last few years?
Yeah.
Because when that one guy goes down, and really, we're playing with Chester's a young guy. You bring in another guy from his class. A lot of things were kind of hidden with Chester when you had those two guards in there, and you weren't getting that pressure up the front.
Yeah.
But when you bring in the freshman, and it shows Chester's flaws so much more when those two get next to each other. And this is the first time where you've seen the sacks increase. They're getting so much pressure up front, and that's where it is up the middle.
Yeah.
And that's where Nussmeier's really struggled. He's not great on his feet. He has to spin out and get outside. That pressure up the middle, to me, is where Nussmeier's season has kind of gone bad. He cannot function with getting that pressure straight up the middle.
So you're Garrett Nussmeier and you wake up and have your breakfast tomorrow morning, and all that's on your mind is, in any particular order, snapping a 3-game losing streak, 2, potentially 3 liabilities on the offensive line, right up the offensive middle, and whether or not you should take millions of dollars or gamble it against millions more to come back in the draft next year. Is that pretty much
That's exactly
what he's got before he eats his cereal tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. Well,
he'll sleep great tomorrow night, tonight.
not much. I mean, come on. Throwing the football against Vanderbilt. This pass defense has been one of the worst in the SEC. You can throw the ball. Of course, they're almost exactly equal with Florida.
I was about to say, so that's what everybody said leading up to Florida.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you why they couldn't throw the ball better against Florida.
Because they were up in his face straight up the middle all day long. 88 from Florida, just abused Mabanga, abused Chester. They were thrown into his lap the whole time. He Nuss cannot function with pressure up the middle.
Not a lot of quarterbacks can, because if you can't climb the pocket, if that's out, I mean, you're forced to reverse out and try to
if you can't outrun everybody,
run, and that's not that's not his game. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I'm
looking for a.
Some of the defensive tackles are terrible, and I feel a little bit better.
I'm looking for a positive silver lining here on a Friday.
We rushed the ball for 160 yards last week.
Okay, well that's something.
Outside, look, so we that's what we've been asked for, but the problem was we couldn't do anything in the pass game. You tell me that we get 3 sacks in that game and we rush for 160 yards, we're in a different spot. But I mean, I don't want to talk about him anymore. He just got abused right up the middle, and it's something that has been glaring since it happened.
Guy at breakfast this morning, right after breakfast, called me and said, well, I guess Kelly can go ahead and call the plays tomorrow since Sloan's not going to be here. And I'm like, man, I don't like to talk about people's jobs like that, because I don't think it's particularly fair, but it's part of the deal. We talk about job security all the time. So yeah, I think Brian Kelly was calling plays last week. I mean, maybe he didn't voice it into the headset himself, but do I think he was influencing plays to the point where we're running this, and this? Yeah, I do. I say that because of the run-pass balance that they haven't had all year. Now, they snapped the ball 93 times, so that kind of magnifies everything. But I think Brian Kelly had more of an influence on calling plays last week than he has at any other point in his LSU career, and I think that'll continue tomorrow, if not increase. So they're going to try to run the football.
We hear this about the play calling, but if you go back and watch the show we're doing on YouTube, there's a lot of plays called that should work but are not executed, and that's a bad thing as well. I mean, that's coaching, but if you're talking about strictly play calling, there's some good plays that are called that look bad because they weren't executed.
And he can't say that.
Yeah.
He can't go. When I say the perception of everything that happens in the next 10 days is going to be magnified and everything matters, they cannot go out there tomorrow, lay an egg, and have Kelly come to the post-game press conference and say, we got to coach better. Yeah, people are going to lose their mind.
But like you said, what are we supposed to say? These guys can't do what we're telling them to do. They get beat on every.
Yeah, that would be worse.
They're not very good. These guys are terrible. Like, he can't say that in a post game. So he's in a lose-lose situation. He's just got to get these guys motivated, and they got to do their job.
Wait! I got it. Okay. Let's talk about the uniforms. No, that's not going to work either. That's not going to work either. All right, we're brought to you by Home Bank. Since 1908, a lot more consistent than the offensive struggles for LSU. Business and personal banking solutions for nearly any need right now. Great CD rates that you can take advantage of. Both long-term and short-term available with low minimum balances so that you can take advantage of these things without investing. Maybe you don't have a lot of money to invest, but you've got some money that you can get a nice return on. Talk to one of the local bankers in any Baton Rouge location. Corporate, Sherwood Forest, Longform Village, and Bluebonnet. You can also find home bank locations in Acadiana, New Orleans, the North Shore, Natchez, and Houston. Visit home24bank.com for more information. Home Bank, member FDIC. We'll take a break, and we'll be back at the end of hour number 1. Log of the Week Friday here at Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It's almost impossible to talk about anything else. You know, we were talking during the break about what was the offer? Was it 10.5? Why did it go from 10.5 to 12? If it would have gone any higher than that, was you play in both ends. Probably jumped a week too soon. I wait till next Friday. It would have been $16 million, right?
Michigan wasn't going to get outbid on a guy that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes down the road.
Jimmy just walked. He brings up a good point. We've told us about Mal Moore when he went down to Miami to recruit Saban. It's like, unless the guy throws you out of his house, come back with him.
Yeah.
But fill in the blank on the number. If you get him to listen, okay. If it's not a no out of hand because I just don't want to go there, then fill in the blank. And like I said, I don't think it's really about leveraging LSU. It was just about leverage. If they don't want to leverage another school, go leverage one with more money than LSU's got. One of my favorite stories in recruiting, this is from the 1970s, and I wish I could remember the lineman's name, but he went to one of those old Southwest Conference schools that, were just hemorrhaging cash, oil money at the time, and the NCAA was oblivious to most of this stuff. And he said he went to his first school. He says he's in the coach's office, and they offer him money, okay? He says, I knew it was against the rules. He says, I got scared. He says, I thought I was going to get in trouble. He said, so I walked out. He says, I walked out, got my truck, went home. He says, the next visit I went on, I'm in the coach's offices. They started offering me money. He goes, I'm like, man, this is wrong. He says, I got up and I started walking out. He says, they chased me down in the parking lot. He says, they start offering me more money. They apologizing because the offer was so small. He says, so after that, I told every guy that was getting recruited, park as far away from the office as you can and walk real slow. And so the story's embellished a little bit, obviously, but the point is, hey, man, you want to start a bidding war? You can. And you can do it in broad daylight now. You don't have to hide it anymore. You didn't park far enough away from the office?
I got gloves, cleats, and a couple rolls of dip. That's about it,
You were cheap. you were cheap. Oh, gosh. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Let me ask one other question. Certainly at some point in your career, LSU lost out on a recruit. I'm not even going to bother to look it up. You can tell me. You guys pay attention to any of that when you're playing?
I didn't. There might be some, but I remember the only recruit I remember hearing about or people talking about when I was playing was Russell Shepard. I remember being in the locker room and hearing this name and hearing this game, watching it on ESPN and doing interviews. That's the only recruit I remember my entire time at LSU talking about coming to LSU.
Not Perla?
No, Perla was before me.
Okay.
And I didn't know I was going to LSU when Perla. I had watched that, but wasn't in the locker room. But it was probably something similar. When you're talking about a top-ranked quarterback, those guys get mentioned. Other than that, everybody in that locker room thinks they're better than any other high school kid.
Yeah, so this is not likely to be on anybody's mind out there tomorrow.
Nussmeier, if he's worrying about himself. If he was coming back next year, he assumes he's going to beat him out. So that's not something that they're worried about.
Okay, so you heard it here first. If they stink tomorrow, it's not because of Bryce Underwood.
No, it's just because they've stunk the last 3 weeks.
All right. You're taking the weekend off. This is really, really well planned by you. Ahead a little bit of time. Enjoy your weekend off. We'll see you for the finale against Oklahoma. Yeah, catch some fish. All right, we'll take a break here at Rufino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch here at Rufino's. Restaurant is now open. You can make it in your plans, come by and have a little lunch with us this afternoon. Yeah, LSU basketball. After the show today, they're playing Pitt at the Greenbrier. Tip-off is at 1:30, so we'll be watching a little bit of that. They are a 6.5-point underdog. Pitt has got a top 16, I believe it is. Ken Palm, 15 or 16. So the Tigers are off to a good start. Have an interesting game this afternoon. Jimmy, good. Okay. Sorry, you having a little having a little bit of an issue. You want me to tell everybody what is for lunch? A lobster ravioli on your appetizer feature today, with the tomato cream sauce, the shishito. Careful to pronounce there. And shrimp.
Get it, Charlie.
Tempura fried shrimp with the blistered peppers and the sweet chili glaze. Crispy flounder with jumbo lump crab meat on the top. Steamed asparagus on the side. Asabuco, the veal asabuco with the wine pairing is the Archery Summit Pinot Noir.
I was about to say, I would put a Pinot with that.
Yeah, okay. And the dessert feature today is the Tres Leches yellow cake with vanilla icing and cinnamon dust.
3 milk.
Yeah. I knew that one. A little bit of Spanish.
Man, the sky is falling. Charlie, you said we weren't going to get outbid by anybody, Charlie. You said
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, you did. Until LSU is outbid by somebody, we don't know.
Okay.
LSU.
You got outbid on this kid.
LSU's outbid a lot of people over time. It's just all in the open now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
but you got outbid on this kid this time.
Sometimes you outbid.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there have been some local products been committed to other places, and last minute they flipped, huh?
Oh, Ryan,
Because they just gave a good pot of jambalaya, huh?
You brought up Ryan Perilou. I was still hosting the Bash back then, and I announced Perilou to LSU, and not at one minute had he ever been committed to LSU. He was committed to Texas the entire time.
So this is early
until signing day.
Underwood, huh?
Yeah, he left money on the table. He should have waited till next Friday.
Really? If you really want to do it, why wait? Why
go till the Tuesday night before?
No, February.
Oh yeah. You could have drugged.
You remember the running back that went to Tennessee, Bryce Brown?
Bryce Brown,
huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Went to Tennessee.
What did he get?
Oh, whatever. That was the Kiffin year.
Whatever he wanted.
He was only there 1 year.
You want leverage.
He got that. Then he went to Kansas State to play with his brother.
The Eagles for a little bit.
He was with the Eagles for a short period of time. Yeah, he was the number one.
Keep in mind there's no honor. There's no ethics in recruiting.
I didn't bring any of that up.
No,
either.
but but LSU's been on the good end of this before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's fun when it's your guy, and it sucks when it's not.
And how many times have we heard? The only thing I wonder, if Michigan's having their normal 9-1, 10-0 season right now, are they desperate enough to do that? To go Malmore to South Florida? I got it. I got an open checkbook, brother. I ain't coming back without you.
I think the fact that this kid was 30 miles from campus was a big deal. If he'd have been from Chicago and they'd have been in the same situation.
Perilou is, he's a local
kid. And I used the Gonzalez thing. If this kid was 30 miles away from LSU,
Okay, Perilou's in 30 minutes.
No, Perilou's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Right. About a running back from a Catholic league.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They went all out to get Perilou. They had to.
And when were we teetering when Fournette was there? Because Saban was kind of kicking our butt, right? That we had to make a stand. We had to make a statement, right?
You couldn't lose Leonard. They tried look, Landon Collins was a big-time recruit. And they did everything they could, and they lost. And he's from right there, at Dutchtown. So sometimes you do lose those kids, but you got to do everything you can to get them when they're that close.
Running back of Fournette status and then a quarterback is a little different than a safety, though.
It is.
As good as big of a recruit as Collins was.
Well, let me ask you, because you watched this kid play against your son. You saw Elijah Haven play last year. He was
he's the best I've ever seen as a ninth grader.
Okay,
he's more physically developed. He's the best I've ever seen.
So 2 years from now, we're going to do this with the quarterback from Baton Rouge.
The only thing I want to see, he throws with a lot of touch. He's built. I've seen him in basketball. He's just a perfect. He's perfectly constructed. He comes from a sound home. He throws with a lot of touch. He throws with more touch than half the NFL quarterbacks. The only thing I want to do is from one hash to the opposite sideline, that 20-yard, I want to see him step into it on a dime. I haven't seen that. Okay, but he throws. But
he's what, 15 years old?
Oh yeah, he's really. There's no such thing as he's so good, man. He's really
2 years from now we'll do this all over again, except this time the kid's in LSU's backyard. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't lose him. Whoever takes over for Kelly is going to have to get that kid. It's a joke, Jimmy. It's a joke. Nobody's in a joking mood today.
I didn't follow you. What were you saying?
I said whoever takes over for Kelly's going to.
Oh, whoever takes over for Kelly,
they get over. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, all right, it is the confidence. It's bam, bam. It's at once. Are they correlated? And I don't think so. I don't think that the LSU not showing up against Alabama and losing to Florida has any impact on this kid as this recruit. But the fan base don't tell them that,
right?
And that's where I mean, what is their hope, man? We still got this kid coming in. Yeah. I mean, he's the number one recruit in the country, and a quarterback can carry a team. Sometimes.
And it's an easier argument to make because Michigan's 5-5 that it's not about results on the field. It's an easy argument. It's all about.
No, I'm asking you. I mean, hypothetical. If they're 10-0, if last year's season was his senior year, everything. Underwood was a senior last year.
Right.
Michigan, everything's the same with Michigan,
yeah.
LSU, everything. Are they that desperate? Are they that like? No, we gotta. I mean, I don't know, man. I think this. I just don't know. I can't say for sure, but there's a chance they might not be. Everything's fine here. What do you need? We're not Ohio State. We need mercenaries and everything else. Michigan people could be proud. But now, what the hell's going on?
Yeah,
they've been 5-5. We're back. Harbaugh's gone. We're back to where we were before him, and even worse.
There's generally not that type of what's the word I'm looking for? It just pressure to buy. For Michigan, they don't usually do this kind of thing. And again, it's because the kid's right there.
USC forever didn't do this kind of thing. Yeah. Did they sweeten the pot for Lincoln Riley?
Yeah.
Did they give him a recruiting budget? He went and got Jordan Addison immediately, and a bunch of others. They hadn't worked out, but they gave him money. Notre Dame. Oh, they were so butthurt about Brian Kelly leaving. What'd they do, Charlie? What we always talk about for years?
Academic admissions.
Oh, they get some kids in now, huh?
Yeah, and like I said, I still think the proximity is the hammer. If everything else is the same, every single thing else is the same, and Underwood's from Chicago.
Well, we could talk about that, Charlie, some money.
Yeah. Would they have offered this amount of money if he was from Chicago and not from 30 miles from Ann Arbor? Probably not. Okay. I think this was
I don't know.
A face-saving gesture that they couldn't lose this kid from right there in their backyard. If he's from Chicago or even Detroit, okay,
maybe not. Maybe so.
I think that was the.
That's not far away either.
That was the. Well, maybe
it's a Big Ten country.
Chicago's a better example. Okay. If he goes to somewhere else, like I said, if he wanted to turn the pressure up on Michigan for the biggest payday he could get, you want to light a fire under their ass? Commit to Ohio State. Let them bid against those guys.
But when I asked you, I said, "Hey, what's LSU's package?" Well, it's not this, and that was a 10.5 reporter. Well, this might be a problem.
Right.
I mean, well, if they got to a point where there's not a business owner out there that doesn't have a price. Somebody comes in and offers you $10 million more than what your business is worth, you're done.
Sure.
You're done. Only Charlie would never take the money to leave for another show, to leave me, Max. Only Charlie. Go ahead, Max. Go ahead. Take your swipe.
I'm going to make sure it's guaranteed next time.
All right, Mike Tomlin.
Uh-huh.
It was weird last night, and this is where we go. He's a great leader of men. He does it. He's got it. But, man, he needs a game management assistant. I mean, Charlie. And some of the things are – and look, there were some bad calls last night. How about when the receiver's not touched for Cleveland, Porter punches the ball out because he gets up, and the ball's loose. He gets called for a delay of game when the play was live. Then nobody touched him. And so, you had that. It was goofy. The snow, I mean, a real-life snow globe. I mean, they shook it up. I mean, what was that? Was that surreal?
It was.
I love listening to Michaels, too. He was freaking out, man.
Well, you were watching in the fourth quarter. At some point, they went back and showed a play from the first quarter, and it looks like two totally different games. It's like two totally different venues.
And we can debate this and that, but there's no defense with the game on the line. You need a first down, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3 minutes to go, whatever. I'm going to let Justin Fields throw the ball vertically? No. No freaking way. There's no way to defend that. Hey, look, we're down 11. Man, let's create a spark. Let's just throw him in there. Boom, he busts a run for about 40 yards. We get a spark. It stalls. Boom, put Wilson in. But when you're going to throw the ball, it's going to be a passing play. Wilson has to be in there. And then throw it down? There's no way. No.
The deception was gone. They had run Fields, and on
the change of pace, the deception. Yes, the element of surprise is done.
On a 4th, and I want to say it was 2 earlier in the game, and Cleveland had it so sniffed out. It was like they knew what he was going to do when he came.
You're outsmarting yourself there.
Yeah.
You're outsmarting yourself.
Let Wilson.
And that's not the first time, but he does a lot of these things. Oh, he wins. He's got the hocus pocus. He's a great leader. I mean, he's done enough now. On his way to Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's done enough.
Yes.
He's done enough. When you can get Trubisky and Pickett and get a winning record out of that,
right.
that's enough for me. Okay, and I think they've handled everything perfectly with the quarterbacks coming in. It's a nice, you didn't need, how about that? Underwood's making more than both the Steeler quarterbacks combined. with the Steelers combined.
With the Steelers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just, you cannot. No, we're going to throw the ball downfield with Justin Fields. There's no, you can't do it. What a crazy game, man. Halftime, full-time was a brutal beat on the Otterlocks last night. Cleveland to have the lead at half. By the way, Cleveland had, 3 more turnovers, Max, last night? Was it 4-1 or 3-0?
It was 3-1.
3-1, 3-1?
You had a fumble from...
Okay, and they still won in a field position game? That's a field position game, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much the best. I mean, it's just one little flurry, boom. The touchdown, the fumble, and the touchdown again. Here's Pittsburgh going to go steal the game. Cleveland figuring out a way to lose. But just a while, the Browns at home, man, catching points in that series has been really, really profitable as of late.
Jameis enjoys playing in the snow. Did you see the interview? He's so happy.
He's so happy. But it could have been. I mean, did he throw the guy? Was that your boy Jackson from LSU that intercepted that? The pass he threw that flipped the thing to Cleveland plus 300 all of a sudden from minus 120 or plus 120 to plus 300 to give the Pittsburgh.
I don't think it was. I don't remember. I thought it was.
Where's Dante Jackson?
Might have been. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was. Just look at interceptions.
Yeah, Dante Jackson. Yeah.
Dante Jackson. There you go, Charlie.
Yeah.
You see this Underwood thing's got you sideways right now. Come on, you're better than this.
I couldn't see the jerseys with the snow. Plus, I was watching NC State at one point come back at the end and win, so I enjoyed that one.
What's that?
NC State coming back. I was watching a little NC State.
No, you get your flowers. You brought it up. Yeah, it was a very good handicap. Very, very good handicap because that would have been a brutal beat if Georgia Tech would have held on to cover that game. There's no way in the world. I mean, the fluke touchdown to start the thing. I mean, very good handicap. NC State was the right side. They're playing better. They're playing better right now, and good for them. We're live at lunch. Chris Massero, Bruce Marshall, Troy Macker, Odd 5-Pack. We got Paul Stone. We got a lot of picks. Lock of the week Friday, presented by Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments. Live at lunch from Rufino's and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's go out to San Diego. PB Chris Massero joining us each and every week at this time. Chris, we're off on Thanksgiving, but first of all, where are you going to be for Thanksgiving? You going back home to the East Coast?
No, actually, I'm coming to you live from the Circa Resort Casino today. So we're actually in Las Vegas this morning.
Okay, all right. So you staying there till Thanksgiving, or I'm
going to be here till Tuesday. I actually brought my dad out, so first time for him at Circa. And
nice.
we're gonna play a little golf on Monday. We're driving back to San Diego on Tuesday, and we're gonna do we do Thanksgiving at my house since I've moved to San Diego. I've always stayed at my house for San Diego for Thanksgiving dinner. So he's actually been coming out the last couple of years, so it's pretty cool. And then I usually go back east for Christmas.
Gotcha. All right, what's your favorite side? Huh? I mean, no oyster dressing or shrimp stuffed melatones in San Diego.
I don't even know what that is. We like we do in my family growing up. We always had we'd have the turkey and the mashed potatoes and the stuffing, but we'd also have the Italian Thanksgiving as well with lasagna and stuffed shells and sausages, meatballs. So. It added to an extra delight of leftovers on Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the extra football games.
Didn't we do this yesterday with Colucci?
I was going to say he's downloading from Colucci, right?
Yes. It sounds like you're going to Colucci's house for the holidays. So anyway, hey, all right. Big 12, going to be one team in the playoffs, but three teams control their own destiny, and one of those is Colorado. They've been more of complementary football this year, so not quite as explosive on offense, but way better on defense. Not incredibly great, but you like Colorado -2.5 on the road in Kansas City, not in Lawrence on Saturday.
Yeah, I was on Kansas last week, and I want to say I'm fortunate that I got the win. We all saw that lucky fumble punt that hit the kid in the face. So I think Kansas, and if you watch that game, they seemed a little bit out of gas. It might be the altitude up in Provo. But I just think it's more the gauntlet they faced. They were at ASU, then they came back home to play Houston, then they were at Kansas State, then back home to play Iowa State, then at BYU, now coming back home again. And as you mentioned, it's not really home. They got to make an hour drive, each way to play at Arrowhead. I mean, it's not a big deal. The kids are young, but it just seems like they've kind of played a lot of games. They seemed a little out of sorts last week. Lucky to get the win. But if you look at it, their defense has never been the calling card, obviously. But the last 3 games, they're giving up 6.4 yards a play. That's bottom 25 in the country. And enter the Buffalo's offense. As you said, it's not as explosive, but last 4 weeks, 34 points, 34 points, 41, and 49 last week. Yes, 7 came on a punt return. I just think Colorado's come too far not to make it to this Big 12 championship game. I played it at 2.5 early. I played a little bit more at 3 even money. And I just think, as you mentioned as well, the biggest surprise has been Buffalo's defense, allowing only 4.8 yards per play and only 22.3 points a game. So I think Colorado gets it done. I think Kansas is a little bit out of gas. They've been the darling of a lot of people in the last couple of weeks. I'm going against them. I'm taking Colorado.
All right, one of these teams that are in the college football playoff at this point, again on the road against a capable team. Penn State's best wins this year, Charlie. A little bit of USC on the road, a little bit of Illinois. They're ranked again. Well, guess what? Minnesota's beaten both of those teams, but you're not taking the points here. You're looking at a low-scoring game in Minneapolis-St. Paul, under the 45, which we're quoting right now from our friends at the Queen Casino at DraftKings Outlet.
Yeah, this is another type of slog type of game, the old school Big Ten game. Reminds me of the game about a month ago where Penn State played Wisconsin. It was 14-13 headed into the fourth. Penn State pulled away to win 28-13. That's the reason I don't want to be on Minnesota. I feel like they can run out of gas. But both of these teams are very slow to snap the ball. Minnesota, 108 seconds per play. That's 28.1. Penn State even slower, 118th, 28.8. And the defenses are giving up very little yards per play. Minnesota only 4.8. Penn State a very, very strong 4.4 yards a play. And another thing, Penn State likes to run the ball almost 60% of the time. 58.3% of the time they're running the ball. So I think this is just going to be try to make no mistakes type of game for Minnesota. Row your boat's going to get the defense fired up. and I can see it being a close game in the fourth quarter, but I'm afraid Penn State will eventually have the athletes to pull away, so I'm going to go with the under. Also, it's going to be 36 degrees, for probably one of the first cold games either team has played this year. That might factor in as well.
All right, under Penn State in Minnesota. Yeah, but a little chilly weather. Still got the over. Got the over at the original number last night somehow, some way.
We're talking about 45.
Let's not bring that up, Jimmy.
I'm sure you had the under last night, huh?
I had the under at 40 from Sunday night, and we're all sitting there watching the game, and it's like, it's 10-6. Like, what could possibly go wrong? It's a blizzard. How could they possibly go over? Sailed over.
The real life snow globe, and I'm sure at no point, no hedge, no middle, huh?
Well, the thing was, I can't really complain because I did have the Browns first half end game and money line first half end game. So at the end, I was hoping they were going to kick a field goal to win it, and I would push the total. But I was still happy that they won, and there was a lot of Steelers fans around us. So it was kind of like that time I first met you, Jimmy. And it was all these Steelers fans around me, and I was just rooting against them.
I just have my money on the Steelers. I'm not a really Steelers fan when the first time I met you, but you know my saying. I know everybody's personal, in fact, a personal stance on this thing, but there's never been a bad beat that you couldn't hedge/middle out of. Talking about teams that were. So I was talking about teams that were supposed to be this good, but this is an ATM fade this year. Liberty, they got the start quarterback back. They got the running back that was so productive last year, but this is not the same team as they were last year. Man, that line went crazy last week, and they had to go to overtime just to win as 21-point favorites. I don't know what happened with that line hike last week, but now Western Kentucky comes in with a pretty good record. Liberty is one at home against the Hilltoppers. Who you like?
Yeah, I'm going with Western Kentucky here. See, listen, the Hilltoppers were having a really solid season. There were 7 wins, 2 losses, and the only 2 losses was to Alabama week 1, where they didn't have anything organized yet. They got blown out 63-0. And then they lost a 1-point game in week 5 to Boston College. And me being a BC fan, I watched this game. They totally dominated the game. The quarterback got a little interception happy in the fourth. We actually talked about it at the time, and they blew a 13-point fourth-quarter lead. So this team could have easily been 8-1. And they were going into Louisiana Tech last week, and I think they did a little bit of look ahead, going up against Liberty this week, the preseason darling in the Conference USA Conference. So I just think they kind of looked ahead, and Louisiana Tech actually has a top 30 scoring defense, and, they were able to hold on 12-7. Western Kentucky was going down to score at the end, and there was a couple fluky plays. There was a bad pass interference call, and anyways, they just didn't get the job done. But I was reading some quotes from their coach Tyson Helton. He said, they just didn't perform well. They're ready to bounce back, and I think they're going to bounce back in a big way. This Liberty team, as you mentioned, has been overvalued in the market all year. They had to go to overtime versus UMass, who's just a dismal team, and they only won by 1. As you said, the line was anywhere between 17 and 21. So the eye test tells me Western Kentucky's the better team. If the Belkamp quarterback could just do a better job of protecting the ball, big if, I really think they'll be able to score points on this Liberty team, whose defense hasn't been much this year. On the flip side, the Western Kentucky defense, if you take out the Bama game, the last 9 games they've only given up 16.4 points a game, which is pretty good. And there's a 3-way, 4-way skirmish for the top 2 seeds in the Conference USA standings between Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston State, and Liberty. So they're all playing each other this week. So we'll see. I think Western Kentucky comes out with the win.
I'm backing you. I mean, I've been fading Liberty all year. 2-7 Liberty against the spread this year. They did cover against Middle Tennessee State a couple of games ago, but one of my favorite mascots, real live mascots. What is that little blob? I mean, that little red blob that runs around. Gotta love him. All right, Chris, let's get to it. Is it just this simple? Notre Dame's going to do it to Army what they did to Navy. They're playing in New York City. It's not MetLife, but it's Yankee Stadium. But damn it, Navy threw up on themselves. But really, Army's best win is power rated 92. East Carolina, Notre Dame's better than that. Notre Dame 14 over Army.
Yeah, I heard Brad Powers say that. All their top schedule guys, the best one was 92 in his power ratings. I mean, Army is a little bit better than Navy. Their defense is a little bit better, but I don't think this Bryson Daly is 100% healthy for Army. And you could see it. They could barely score against North Texas. They had to grind it up. They had to go for fourth down every single time, every single drive. And North Texas is the bottom of the barrel defense. Step in Notre Dame's defense is the top 10. I just don't see Army getting more than 10, maybe 13 points. I mean, and you could say Army has a great defense too, but they played Lehigh, Florida Atlantic, Rice, Temple, Tulsa, UAB, ECU, Air Force, North Texas. It's only missing Kent to have the worst schedule in history. So I just don't see how this team is going to be able to slow down Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame gets up a little bit early. They're going to be able to run the ball and throw it when they need to. And if they get up a couple scores, Army just isn't built to come back. So I'm going to lay the number. I just think Army's kind of a fraud. They have a good coach. Their only hope is to grind it out and snap the ball with 1 second on the play clock. But that infers that they're going to keep getting first downs. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it against Notre Dame's defense.
Well, listen, also, the first 5 games, in the last 5 games, and Riley Leonard's level of passing, he's got get used in real time to the supporting cast. But, I mean, he was really struggling with his arm. Flat out timid to throw the ball. It's now a little bit more proficient. We know he's tough as nails, got a lot of guts, great athlete, but now they're creating a little bit more balance and loosening up that box a little bit for the Irish as well.
Yeah, they're scoring 38 points a game now. I mean, they're averaging 38 points a game. That's pretty solid. Like I said, I don't see Army getting more than 13. So if you get 28-13, that's a cover. I think Notre Dame's going to get more than that.
All right, Chris, and yes, LSU tomorrow night, Tiger Stadium. Vandy comes to town, an improved Vandy team. LSU is 7.5 currently over Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking the previous segment that the players probably aren't going to be concerned about the Bryce Underwood situation, but I'm sure one guy's going to be concerned, and that's Brian Kelly. He's going to be distracted. He has to be on the hottest seat, like one of those gator bait pits that you guys have down there. That's how hot his seat is right now. And I mean, let's just state it clearly. He's lost 3 in a row, $95 million 10-year deal. I'm sure you guys are going to be rabid if one thing goes wrong in the game tomorrow night. And if you look at it, Vandy's coming off a bye, and what's the number one thing that LSU's defense hasn't been able to do is to corral a running quarterback. Milroe got 185 yards rushing on 12 carries. Marcel Reed had 62 on 9. Those guys amounted for 7 touchdowns combined. And I think Pavia is going to be able to run. He averages about 65 yards per game running. He doesn't turn the ball over. And I just think they're a slow, grinded-out type of team where they're very slow pace, 29.9 seconds per play, which is comparison to Navy is 30.2, Army 34.2, bottom 5 in the country. And when you're getting points with a running quarterback versus a suspect defense, plus all the other problems LSU's having, give me Vandy plus the points.
Oh, great. All right, so they've lost 2 in a row, look like crap against Alabama. People at an all-time low confidence as far as Kelly. They lose the number 1 recruit in the country, and now Vandy's going to come in here. When's the last time there were boos in Tiger Stadium?
I hate to heap the misery on you, but they've lost 3 in a row. Not 2
I'm sorry, 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
I wasn't sure what team you were talking about.
I've lost track.
Yeah. There's a buy in there, but it's 3 in a row. Sorry.
And, yes, it's $100 million, 10-year $100 million, not $90 million, Chris. So let's just throw an extra $10 million. Yeah.
$10 million here and there these days. I mean, that's what they just paid Underwood.
Yeah. yes. And look, LSU could have. You ever been in one of those fantasy football drafts where you can drive the price up on your buddy? LSU could have driven it up as much as they wanted. They were not leaving the table without Underwood. So anyway, Chris, you good for Black Friday next week? We're on the air next week.
Yeah, sure, 100%. Okay. I'll be on tonight on Matt's show at I think it would be 7:45 Central Time. Is that the time zone you guys are in over there?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could have a pop, man, with Papa Macero, man. He did a fine job raising his son. So good job, man. I love you, my brother. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck this weekend.
All right, happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you Friday.
All right, Chris Macero from Las Vegas, and down there. It's nice to take your dad, huh? To
jaunt.
Did you take your dad to Circa, huh?
I've been with my dad to Vegas a few times.
Lofton Staffing Service at Lofton, we're in the business of matching hard workers with some of the most sought-after employers in the Baton Rouge area. To Lofton, you're more than just another employee. We care about your interests and can help you match you with the company that needs your skills. You can complete an application, schedule an interview, even browse jobs right from the comfort of your own couch by simply going to lofton.jobs. That's lofton.jobs. We also offer an unlimited $100 referral bonus. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today, 924-0200 or lofton.jobs.
Live at Rufino's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
Troy, happy Friday, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's a bit ugly up here in the Mid-Atlantic. We had snow this morning. Now it's rain, so my feet are wet, and I'm just trying to stay dry and get through the weekend.
It's a bit ugly here, too, Troy. The sun's out. It's like 60 degrees. Sun
low 60s. They'll get up to about 66 today.
It's a Chamber of Commerce day, and it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, this is but we're melting, during July and August. Well, you guys are doing a little bit better.
But there's plenty of melting going on today. Just not out in the heat.
Yeah. Well, Troy, the 80% Club. Who we're looking at first in college football.
Yeah, so, this is an interesting week because the week before Thanksgiving, you have a lot of non-conference cupcake games that are going to feature really big spreads. We've seen a real downtick in betting on college football this year, this week. So it's very hard to tell the numbers now compared to where they will be tomorrow. We have almost 25 teams that are backed by at least 80% of the money and about 15 teams backed by 80% of the tickets, which is a massive number. So there are, about 7 teams backed by both 80% of the money and tickets, and that's what we'll run through here, going off of ranked by percentage of money.
Troy, is there, before you get there, is there any way to kind of get the rent-a-wins, kind of leave those out? Like when, who's Alabama playing this week? No, they actually have a real game. They played Mercer last week. Yeah. But the Alabama-Mercer games, just if to save us a little time and confusion, you just throw those out.
Okay, so we'll eliminate Tennessee minus 40.5 against UTEP and Georgia minus 42 against UMass. Okay, that's easy enough.
Exactly.
So the strongest one is A&M minus 2.5 at Auburn. 95% of the money, 93% of the tickets. Okay. The public has been all over UCF games this year. They're on West Virginia plus 3 at home against UCF. 95% of the money, 91% of the tickets. Here's a fade that we've seen a ton is people love betting against Southern Miss. They stink. So South Alabama minus 22.5, 94% of the money, 83% of the tickets. The public is finally coming on and really hammering SMU. It's taken a while, but it looks like the ponies are legit. Minus 9.5 at UCA. It's, again, going to be inclement weather here in the greater Maryland, Virginia area. It's going to be wet and cold and miserable, but 89% of the money, 88% of the tickets. And then Miami minus 24 against Wake Forest, 87% of the money, 86% of the tickets. That's a tough one for me just because Miami is very mercurial. They could win just about every game, but they get down in some games against lesser opponents. So 24 is a pretty big number, even though Wake Forest is not very good.
They could easily have a couple more losses, if not more. Yes.
Right.
Like teams like Duke, Cal, Virginia Tech. Not exactly murders. Decent teams, but sort of those. Well, all right. And who else?
That's it. So we got
okay. That's it. Okay.
West Virginia, South Alabama, SMU, and Miami.
Okay. On the NFL side, what are we looking at?
So there is about 4 teams that not just in tickets and money of spread plays, but the percentage of strength, but also the volume and the amount. We're basically seeing Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, and Houston are in every top 5 category. And it makes sense. They're playing Carolina, Indianapolis, Chicago. The Buccaneers are playing the Giants, and Tennessee. So right now,
Charlie, Tennessee. The Titans, Charlie.
You guys go right ahead. Y'all should adopt the Titans.
Troy, I'm all about value, okay? I've been on the Titans so much this year. Our strongest NFL handicapper, Randy McKay, was on the Titans last week. We had 3 touchdowns, a result, or wiped out 21 points because of penalties against the Titans last week. So, yes, I'm crying about it, but once again, the result is the same. So, but Randy didn't pick the Titans this week, Charlie. He didn't pick them this week.
You know, there's value, and then there's teams that have covered one time in 2.5 months. There is no value. They just stink, okay? After a while, you got to just, I'm sorry. I don't care how many points they're getting.
So I'll tell you that the interesting thing about this week is if we look at spread tickets, there's 6 teams backed by at least 80% of the spread tickets. 5 of them are favored by, I guess now 4 of them, but up until this morning, 5 of them were favored by at least a touchdown, and 4 of them are on the road. And you're talking Tampa Bay is now 5.5 at New York with a new quarterback. Detroit -7 at Indianapolis. Denver -6.5. That was at 7 at Las Vegas. Houston -7.5 at home against Tennessee. Kansas City -11 at Carolina, and then Washington -10.5 versus Dallas. So, all of them basically are in and around a touchdown or more, all backed by at least 81%, and most of those are on the road. And what we do know is it's a week-to-week league, and we haven't seen this strong of plays on basically touchdown favorites and more. So I think this week could very well be a make-or-break week, that it's going to be bloodshed in one way or the other. I don't think this is going to be a middled week where we talk on Monday and it's like, we won a little bit of money, the price of doing business. I think this is going to be one way or the other in terms of who wins the book of the public in a big way.
Hey, Max, our buddy Hold the Mayo, his way of handicapping has a list where he gets tired of them. I would have to think that the Titans have been on his list way before. Should I just lean more to Mayo handicapping instead of Randy McKay?
Mayo, the old do not play ever.
Yeah, the do not play list. Yes. Yes.
You know what he's got it written on? That's the funny part to me. He's got it written on a Post-it note sponsored by Terminex, the exterminators. Okay, so that's the funny part to me.
I love his pork chop at the Francis, as big as his head. So very good stuff. Troy, who you like this week?
Here's a weird play in college that I actually like, and I'm kind of following the money and the tickets, but I like Army Notre Dame over. I believe it's like 47.5, and I could see this being played, or it might be 45.5. I could see this being played either a blowout, because Army's been struggling a little bit, and Notre Dame has been putting up some points, or, I think it could be 28-27, 28-21, get you over there, so that's one I like. And then on the NFL side, I do like Tampa Bay -5 at New York. I don't have any faith in backup quarterback, Tommy DeVito. And Tampa Bay might be getting Mike Evans back, I think. And that's a smaller line than I would have handicapped that. I would have figured they would have been 6.5 or 7, even though a full touchdown on the road is tricky unless you're a dominant team. Like the Lions are only a touchdown favorite on the road. So I do like Tampa Bay -5, and I like Army Notre Dame over. I believe it's 45.5.
Troy, any thoughts about college basketball? We watched Baylor reel into Johnny's last night, down 18, and they hit a 3 at the horn to win it.
My gosh.
And we got some great games tonight, late tonight.
Good thing I had it parlayed with my free bet with the under in the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, so I can't cry about it today.
Length of the floor with 4 seconds
How many
to go.
free throws did they miss?
The last 2 for sure.
So they were both 1-and-1s?
No, there was 2 shots at the end. The one right before.
Well, they had another trip that they came
they
out to.
missed some other ones, but I don't remember exactly how many. But they missed those 2 for sure.
Troy, this is kind of our time with this holiday basketball tournament's really good. Give us something. I know you pay close attention.
Gosh, I love this time of year. We already had 2 games tip off already, and the last game of the night features a ranked North Carolina team at Hawaii after midnight. So we get wall-to-wall hoops. And Hawaii's not bad. They're 4-0. UNC should win, but that's a 15.5-point line. I wouldn't be surprised if Hawaii covers there simply because of the travel and they're a decent team. There's some really good games on tonight. Baylor, Tennessee is going to be great. Duke at Arizona, not a neutral court, not a Maui game or Bahamas game, but at the McHale Center, that should be great. I wouldn't be surprised to see Duke win that one. I think I took Duke last year against Arizona. I liked Arizona. I didn't think they were as complete at the time, and they boat raced Duke, so I might fade myself here. But just, I've had really good success. Again, I say this all the time. The low majors. That's where you can really beat the book by about 3 or 4 points early in the year if you do some homework, because these lines will be off, in either direction. Either recognizing, I've won twice on Monmouth, who stinks, but they are not as bad as the spreads have indicated. They were like 32.5, 31.5, and they've lost by 24 and 21 points. So that's really where you can win early in the season, is where, a mid-major or a low major versus a high major for any number of reasons, getting guys reps, still haven't gelled, just going through the motions, getting ready for exam week, and the book being off by 3 or 4 points, sometimes as many as 6 points, just because there's not a lot of information out there. Especially with, you got a couple new teams, like South Georgia is a new team at the Division I level, and I typically would have just faded them to the moon. They covered in the first 2 games, so that's one to keep an eye out for. So just a lot of really, really good action tonight and this weekend. And if you want a mid-major going forward, they got a tough game tonight. But Hofstra has played very well, beat Villanova. They've covered a couple of their games. They're playing Houston tonight, minus 27.5 for Houston. That's a stay away from me. But if you're just looking to highlight a low or mid-major, look out for Hofstra. I think they're very good. Was it Speedy Claxton is their head coach? Really fun team to watch.
All right, follow Troy on Twitter at Troy Macker. That's MACHIR, MACHIR. Troy, have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
All right, don't forget, at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years, including their newest branch at Burbank and Blue Bonnet. At United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business. From initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments, United Community Bank is here for you. Our great team of bankers, Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, David Henry. Stop on by, discuss how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch, Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
3 games on Friday night. Purdue may be the worst team in the history of the school against Michigan State. San Jose State with the miracle cover last week. They're catching 7.5 tonight.
San Jose State?
San Jose State against UNLV
No,
tonight.
they didn't cover last week.
I'm sorry, didn't cover last week against
Boise.
Boise, yeah. Catching 7.5 tonight at home against UNLV. You interested?
I'm on San Jose.
San Jose
You know
State.
that. I love that hot stove.
Yep. 9 o'clock tonight. Michigan State a 2-touchdown choice against Purdue. All right, we're back with Bruce Marshall when we return for hour number 3 here at Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Rufino's Live at Lunch. Come on by and see us. Get a little lobster ravioli.
A little bacon, tomato, and tarragon cream sauce. Charlie, talk about good shishito peppers and shrimp, the tempura fried shrimp, blistered shishito peppers, the sweet chili glaze. Shishito peppers by themselves are kind of a little appetizer on the West Coast. I'm sure Bruce Marshall had them in Palo Alto with his popcorn at the game. We'll get to that game in a second. My goodness. The crispy flounder, Charlie, fresh flounder, fried crispy, jumble up crab meat with creamy polenta, brown butter, steamed asparagus. Suggested wine pairing is a Frank Family Chardonnay out of Napa. And the Ossobuco, the veal shank Ossobuco Milanese, saffron risotto, the Gremolata, the wine pairing, suggested wine pairing, and Archery Summit Pinot Noir out of Willamette Valley. Our dessert feature today, Tres Leches. Brucey, what Tres Leches? What's that mean, baby?
Hey, I don't know. Hold on a second. Hey, Coach, I'm sorry. I won't get you mad again, okay? Thank you. I was just, Brian Kelly was just yelling at me, so I just had to,
Oh, Brian Kelly's had a rough couple of weeks. Charlie, I lost count. They've lost 3 in a row, right, Charlie?
3 in a row in 4 weeks.
3 in a row in 4 weeks. Lost the number 1 recruit in the country?
They did.
Yes, and Vandy comes to town tomorrow.
7 o'clock
A
kick.
capable Vandy team.
Very capable. Vandy
Very
team.
capable,
Yep.
according to Charlie. Bruce, you're at Palo Alto. Great. You know what? Listen, live betting, okay? Big money line parlay. Not closing out, but majorly. But still, you can hedge. I got a couple legs in, and I'm watching that thing. And I'm like, I smell a rat here. I got to take plus 600 on Stanford outright. I got to take plus 225 on Stanford here. I'll still have enough if they're going to win. Louisville went out of their way to lose that game. I can't. Everybody I talked to, nobody, it wasn't on their radar here. Nobody, even the most advanced gamblers who are, paying attention to that game slipped through the cracks. You were there. You were there in front of, 4,500 or whatever they had in Palo Alto. I mean, how bad was that Louisville loss? With Jeff Brom, to the players, lack of discipline. It was unbelievable.
Well, you're right. There weren't many people there to watch. And, we talked about the crowds. I'd been to the Grove a couple weeks earlier, Philadelphia before that, and Coliseum. So what the crowd looked like, it's Stanford. The women don't wear much makeup there.
You saying the women look better at the Grove than they do outside of...
There's a reason they don't have a Real Housewives of Palo Alto show. Okay, so there we go. All right, I'm just kidding. No, that was one of the worst botch jobs I had ever seen in the last half minute, especially by Louisville. I mean, you watching that game, and it looked like, and there weren't many people. Somehow they said 18,000, where that must have been tickets. There were not half that many in the crowd.
Sure. No, there's half that.
And we had heard Matt Humans had told me this because he's a Purdue guy, and though he said Brom gets his teams ready to play, and he's a pretty good cutting edge offensive coach, but as a game coach, sometimes he leaves much to be desired. And I think I saw some of that late, some questionable use of the clock there, use of timeouts there, but it was the discipline part that really. And there's no way Stanford should have even been close in that game. But you're right, the last sequence there, that fourth down pass, and the way Brom took an extra timeout, which he didn't need to do, and the clock was already stopped, and then the late hit out of bounds that put Stanford for the long field goal try, then the offside, and then the guy barely hit the 52-yarder. It was amazing, and it was a shocker. But you get those once in a while. I mean, Stanford kept fighting, and Louisville kept finding ways to lose. And then apparently Louisville. The plane, they had mechanical problems or crew problems or something. They couldn't take off until the next morning. So the insult to injury, they had to stay an extra night in San Francisco, if you can believe that, at the airport. Now, that's the real penalty that Louisville had for last weekend. They couldn't leave till Sunday. So, it was a shocker. It really was.
Charlie, so it's 4th and 10, Louisville, tie game. 4th and 10, Louisville's got the ball at the Stanford 45, 11 seconds to go. What do you do?
It's a 45 with 11 seconds to go, and I don't have any timeouts left.
Oh, no. I think they had timeouts. Did they have timeouts, Bruce?
I think they did. He took a timeout.
He took a timeout before. Right. He took a timeout with the clock stopped. I'm sorry. That was another
I'm in plus territory.
Was that his last timeout?
That was his last timeout. He had one more, so he could have got a 15-yard completion and called timeout for the field goal.
I'm trying to get in field goal range. Sure.
Oh, well, he throws it 40 yards downfield.
Okay. Just completed, I take it.
Stanford, with 5 seconds to go, throws a little. They were trying to get a little closer. I guess maybe they didn't think their quarterback could reach the end zone from his own 45. But he only gets 1 yard and gets out of bounds with 1 second to go. They late hit him. That puts the ball at the Louisville 39. That's still a 56-yard field goal.
It's a long field goal.
And you went out of bounds, so left hash. Offsides, Louisville. That makes it up 56-51. Boom. Hello. Thanks for shopping.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a whole series of bad plays.
Yes. Well, yes, exactly. Give me 15 yards and spike the ball. But don't throw it for the end zone and give them, higher percentage, coach. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It was. And, one other thing, Stanford tied the game with about 45 seconds left on a 4th and 1 from the 25, and Troy Taylor brought in his running quarterback, Lamson, who ended up throwing into the end zone, and that was a dramatic play, and that got Stanford even.
Yes.
And, that was from the 25 with under a minute left. It looked like they were just going to lose the game, well before we got to the end there. But
you brought the grandkids?
Yes, he couldn't believe it. I mean, he thinks Stanford's good now. I mean, it's like.
Oh, jeez. You've ruined this kid. I mean, you get what you get. But, I mean, could you bring him to a more conventional game? This was I hope the kid has enough sense to realize this is not normal, how you manage a game, huh?
I'm worried that I've changed. I've kind of distorted his perception.
and listen, we pick on the runs, but my favorite Ole Miss line ever, okay, because they've had to do things because they don't do it on the field was, hey, ain't never been a party we lost. It's kind of, but the other one is, what do we call Miss America in Oxford? An 8. So, yes. I mean, you're going to have a little bit better scenery in Oxford than Palo Alto. Brucey, give me your top 3 picks in college football this week.
Well, I'm going to stick in the SEC tomorrow. I got a couple of off-track games we'll get to at the end, I hope. But let's look at a few of these tomorrow. I think Kentucky is going to hang around against Texas tomorrow, and that was not an easy go for Texas at Arkansas last week. It's odd. I mean, Quinn Ewers is not all that. They love Arch so much down there in Austin. I mean, they clamor for him. I mean, Ewers is kind of the most underappreciated top quarterback I can remember. But Kentucky, interesting here. Last week, Mark Stoops, who, by the way, they're talking about him retiring there, but he's denying it. We'll see what goes. John Summerall's on the speed dial up there, we know. But they put the freshman quarterback, Cutter Boley, in there last week. It was only Murray State. They really like this kid. They have saved his redshirt year, so he's already going to be beneath the threshold, so he won't lose a year of eligibility. But he came off the bench last week, threw a couple TDs, he is tall, he can move some, good arm. Now, it was only one game. Murray State ain't Texas, but they're going to use Stoops will use him tomorrow, along with Vandegrift, who's been kind of banged up. But let's remember, Kentucky went into Vaught Hemingway and won. They took Georgia down to the last minute in a 1-point loss. They're not as bad as 4-6 would suggest. And only that the Florida game, it really unraveled for them. A bunch of mistakes, but they're a hard-nosed team. I'm not sure. And Texas might be running out of steam a little bit here, and they got the A&M game next week. I'm going to take Kentucky in that game tomorrow. I am also going to give a look to Mississippi State. Just a gut call here that now I know that Arkansas game 4 weeks ago, that is really the only egg that they've laid. No pun intended with the Egg Bowl next week, but that's the only really bad effort they've had in the last month and a half. And the thought from a lot of people down there is they're going to get somebody before the season is over. Probably not next week in the Egg Bowl, but maybe this is the one with Mizzou. Listen, they've covered point spreads against Tennessee, Georgia, A&M, and Texas here in the last month. Plus, Van Buren has given them a little bit more at quarterback than Chapin was giving. They like him a lot moving forward. And Mizzou, you're talking about a team, you talk about maybe deflated a bit. Now, they are out of the playoff conversation completely now. Now they're thinking, maybe this is just going to be the Liberty Bowl or the Music City Bowl. That's all we're going to get out of this season off a brutal loss at South Carolina. This is not much of a margin team on the road. I'm going to give the Bulldogs, you're catching a little bit, 7.5 or so. I think I'll
8 plus 8 right now locally here at our shop. Yeah.
There you go. And one more. I'm going to give A&M a look tomorrow. Hugh Freeze is usually good for an upset per year. Looking at the spread, this wouldn't be much of an upset. And he hasn't really gotten one yet this year, and he's running out of chances. But darn it, I mean, and A&M really needs this. And they're getting a little bit shunned. The talk of all the 2-loss teams, they seem to be at the bottom of that pile right now. They got to keep winning. They do get Texas next week, but this is a manageable price. For the most part this season, Auburn has failed to clear the hurdle in these sorts of games. Peyton Thorne, who was benched earlier in the year, tends to make some more mistakes. Now, Mike Elko, he has made a full-blown switch to Marcel Reed, the freshman at quarterback. He's not going to fool around with Wiegman unless something really goes wrong with Reed or he gets hurt. But they have generally cleared the hurdles they needed to clear. It was nice to get a game out of the way with New Mexico State just to get them back on the ground last week, even though It wasn't a scintillating effort after the South Carolina game, but Reed gives them a better chance at higher notes to hit, and they have generally cleared the hurdles this year, and Auburn hasn't. So I'm going to lay the short price with A&M tomorrow, and that should set up a really good game next week with Texas for a spot in Atlanta the following week.
You know, Max, we went down to the Pelicans G League game last Friday night, and so I had to download the SeatGeek app, and I'm getting these updates for A&M Texas tickets. Bruce, you won't be taking the grandkids to this one. Trust me. No. Okay, we're talking about the average seat is about $2,500, $3,000 a seat before the service charges and everything else. Paul Stone's been talking about it. Were you in Birmingham for that media day when they hit that bombshell that Texas and Oklahoma were coming to the league?
Yeah, I was actually I was at the ACC that day, but we heard it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Oh, we were in Birmingham that day, and it was. They've been looking forward to this game ever since. So the first one and something on the line. I mean, I can't believe the prices of these tickets, man. It's unbelievable. So, you know, Texas and Texas A&M, I'm worried about both of them a little bit on the look-ahead spot on this. You back in A&M, but you fade in Texas. We will see. How about off the beaten path, some of the smaller conferences? Who you looking at?
Jimmy O and Charlie, last week I gave you Air Force, one of my favorite plays of the year. I'm going to do it again. Now, they're on the road this week. It's the late game, so it'll be on TV late tomorrow night at Reno. I still can't believe they're an underdog in this game. Now, Nevada has played a couple of decent games in losing efforts this year. The SMU and Boise efforts are really good. This team is still only 3-8, though. They're 95th in rush defense. They're giving up 26 rush TDs. They were blanked at Minnesota. They got whipped at Hawaii. They're not great. And now, late season, they got to play Air Force. I know they had a week off before this game, but darn it, Air Force is back. They look like Air Force again. Last week, another 271 rushing, 41 minutes plus a possession against Oregon State. They totally shut down the Beavers. The week before, we mentioned that last week, 344 rush against Fresno, 45 minutes plus of possession. Since Troy Calhoun went to Quentin Hayes, the sophomore quarterback, I don't know what took him so long to make this move this year, but the offense is different. Busher, the quarterback into the first half of the season, was incapable of making any game-breaking plays. Hayes gives them a lot more pop there, and they look like Air Force again.
Yes.
You know they'll be trying. I'll take Air Force tomorrow and get 3.5 up at Reno. One other one, and I guess this in Pac-12, there's only 2 teams left. I'll call this a minor game. This number is moving down a bit, Washington State or Oregon State, and I know Washington State took a brutal loss at New Mexico. I don't know if they had it was realistic for them to think they had a playoff shot, but they seemed to think they did in the last week. So there could be a big letdown, but they'll still get a pretty decent bowl bid out of it. By the way, the old Pac-12 bowl tie-ins are still working this year. So Washington State,
God.
But Washington State could still get down Alamo Bowl or something like that. Oregon State has quit the other way. That the last few efforts from them, we talked about them last week in front of the Air Force game. They got nothing left right now. Absolutely nothing. Their season ended about midway through. The offense is completely off the rails right now. They don't know. Trent Bray just can't get this team motivated. Washington State should be able to go in there. I'm a little reluctant to lay points like this on the road late in the season, but I think Oregon State is such a go-against right now. And Mateer is so dynamic. Washington State will bounce back, and this is mostly, though, an anti-Oregon State vote. The Cougars tomorrow.
All right.
Washington State got to be the quietest 8-2 in the country, right?
Yes. Yeah. Now, the people were following them a little bit until they were kind of complete. They were just eliminated from the chance of getting in a top 12.
Yeah.
But they were kind of
forgotten too.
Yeah.
Washington and Oregon State
went to Boise, and who was their other loss? Bruce, Washington State.
New Mexico last week.
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
And Boise.
Wow.
That was a bad one. That was really bad.
Urlacher with a key punt return to set up the winning score, huh? So anyway, all right, Bruce, the Air Force down to 2.5. Now it's plus juice, but here at our DraftKings shop, so I'm on them as well. So no, they're a different team. Good. Teams with bad records that are playing better. Who was the other one I'm thinking of? Kansas, Air Force.
Yep.
Some of those other. And how about Liberty? I just have to ask your opinion. I know you pay attention, but Liberty against the spread 2-7 this year. Yep. I mean, they were in such a weak conference, in such a weak schedule. But man, they're not close to what they were last year.
No, and I think Western Kentucky's probably worth a look here. Although that I couldn't explain the loss to La Tech last week, and that kind of shook me. And there've been a few of these weird results in Conference USA, but you're right. Liberty has undershot expectations all year. We sort of saw it. We talked about this back in September, Jimmy, when they struggled that game at New Mexico State. They should have lost. It just isn't the same team this year, and it looked like a lot of starch was taken out of the program when they got boat raced by Oregon last year, and that sort of removed their aura of invincibility, and they have not been the same team this year.
Percy, 20 seconds real quick also, but teams like Iowa State, they're more comfortable now that the pressure's off. Is the same thing with maybe a little bit BYU, but are they still heavy as the crown? Did they get, because it looked like some of the pressure was getting to them. They should have lost to Oklahoma State. Iowa State should have lost to Central Florida before they lost a couple of games. Can BYU kind of get back on track? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do hear that, but I don't know. I tell you, you might be right, Jimmy, but Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham has done a great job this year, and he's held. And Scadaboo came back last week for Arizona State's win. I think ASU gets them tomorrow.
Best crowd in Tempe, and how long? Plummer,
Jake Plummer.
The Jake Plummer.
That's the first thing I thought of.
I mean,
First conference game versus BYU since 1977 when they were both in the WAC. So that's a big
I know, but the place is going to be. There's going to be a good crowd. I mean, it's going to be. But I mean, Plummer, huh? I mean, since they were this excited about winning games, that was one of the best Rose Bowls ever too. Plummer with the score, and then. Who was the little quarterback? The little bitty quarterback for Ohio State. He had David Boston. They couldn't guard him, but what was his name again?
Well, you hit me there. I got to figure that out. I'll remember it in about 10 minutes from now. But I remember 20-17. 20-17, Ohio State. Great game.
They couldn't cover Boston on that last drive. I mean, a little bit he got. Brucey, happy Thanksgiving, man. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoy your oyster dressing and your shrimp stuffed militones on the Thanksgiving table, huh?
Okay, boys, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget our friends over at Total Maintenance. Total Maintenance. Again, my buddy Lucas Ragusa. Again, doing it for a long time in the Baton Rouge and now in the New Orleans area as well. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest air conditioning company and heating companies. Since I used that heater yet, you got that little bit of smell? Then you might want to get that heater safety check right now. Hey, we got a great deal right now. Normally it's $179, just $79 for the one-time heater or AC check if you mention my name, Jimmy out. We have membership programs that cover all of the services that we offer with discounts and extended warranties. And we'll let you know when it's time. You got enough things to worry about with the hustle and bustle of the job, the kids, and everything else. So membership programs, we'll let you know when it's time to get your unit service. Great thing about the membership programs is general maintenance. Going to lower your monthly bills. That's always good. And also extend the lifetime of your unit as well. Kind of like changing the oil in your vehicle. Hey, man, nobody wants to pluck down money on a new unit. So extend the lifetime of your unit and lower monthly bills as well. In Baton Rouge, we're 480-1000. In New Orleans, area code 504-841-3300. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Ruffino's. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Our friends down at the Pierreport store and the Thibodeau store. Got sales going on all the way through next week on Black Friday. Power tools, hand tools, tool kits, the rolling tool carriers. Lots of great gift ideas for Dad if you're going shopping and you got some Christmas ideas. Lots of these are available on the website. Discounts from anywhere from 10% off to 50% off at ThibodeauStore.com. Also, maybe not the first place you think of when you think about Christmas decorations, but you're looking for Christmas decorations, wide variety, also available on the website at ThibodeauStore.com. Down in Thibodaux at 900 St. Patrick Highway. If you're heading down to the coast doing a little fishing during the holiday season, stop by and get all of your fishing equipment at the Thibodeau store. Huge jambalaya pots, crawfish pots, custom cypress furniture, tons of things that you might not expect to find at your ordinary hardware store. And, of course, their expert instruction when you're doing home improvement. Pierre Pard Store just celebrated their 113th anniversary in the Thibodeau store at 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. Online, it's ThibodeauStore.com.
Charles Hannegriff's 5-pack of picks. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
And you know we're going to be cooking with some Supreme Rice next Thursday over at our house for Thanksgiving. A little rice dressing, a little rice and gravy. We got some stuff coming next Thursday. All right, 2 and 3 last week. I wasn't here, a little under the weather last week. Let me see if I can do better in person than I did out of pocket. I'm going to start with Indiana. This line's all the way down to 10.5. I liked it before. I'm not wild about the fact that the line keeps going down. I thought this would be closer to 12. But Seth McLaughlin's injury, I don't think, is nothing. Their starting center goes down. This is not quite as bad as losing him on the first series, the way the Saints did with McCoy, but losing him to a non-contact injury in Tuesday's practice, man, that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
This is the second starting lineman they've lost in the last month. So they had to shuffle a deck here. Look, Indiana's good. Number 2 in total offense, number 2 in total defense. They're coming off of a bye. I hate to use Nebraska as a measuring stick, but if we do, that favors Indiana as well. I think Ohio State wins the game. I think they win the game by probably a touchdown, maybe a touchdown and a field goal, but I think that this is too many points. So I'm going to take Indiana plus now the 10.5. I'm going to go out to that game we were just referencing at Arizona State and take the Sun Devils -3 against BYU. Breaks finally caught up with BYU last week. The quick kick off the helmet that ended up costing the game. So if we're square.
Explain that play again.
Okay, so it was 4th and 14 from the 36-yard line of BYU for Kansas. Okay, this is late in the third quarter, and they called timeout. It's outside the field goal, the kicker's
right. So
range.
they lined up to go for it, but they quick kicked. Okay,
yeah. And the coverage guy for BYU on the outside, he's covering one of the Kansas Gunners, the wide receiver. But
he thinks he's defending pass.
Yes.
Okay.
And the ball hit him on the helmet.
And
he's not even
Kansas
looking.
recovered.
Yeah, at the 3-yard line. So and they punch it in.
I went to sleep early.
Punch it in from there, and they had a chance to recover it at the 10. It squirts out and it goes down to 3, and that's where Kansas recovered it.
Oh,
so
for one of the final score was
17-13.
So one of 2 touchdowns was set up on it was a 3-yard drive.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean BYU.
That was the last score of the game.
BYU had that was the 13.
That was
13-10 at that time.
Yeah, last score of the game. So
they outrushed them, they outpassed them, they out first down, but lost.
And that's the one. So we're now BYU's caught their fair share of breaks this season. So if we're square, let's
you say that. I mean, the minus the Oklahoma State game, Utah. I guess Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, those two.
So
okay.
The holding call.
They put it on some teams. They put it on Central Florida. They put it on Baylor.
I like BYU. I think they're a good team. I just think Arizona State's better. They're undefeated at home. One of their 2 losses on the road was without their starting quarterback. It was an early morning start at Cincinnati. The BYU run defense is just so-so. They're kind of in the middle of the Big 12. Scatterbo's a dude.
He's a dude.
I like him, man.
Yes.
You watch him play. He's fun to watch play. I think the attitude after the first loss is maybe the pressure's on BYU. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but they had a game to play with last week. They played hard. They just caught that one play. I think they just catch Arizona State with a little momentum. They're playing well. I'm going to take the home team minus the 3 points.
Will be a lot of juice in that stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take Colorado minus 2.5 against Kansas. Kansas not sneaking up on anybody anymore. Not after they pretty much ruined the season for Iowa State and BYU in back-to-back weeks. And, we talk about pressure situations and teams that haven't been in pressure situations before. This is the most pressure on Colorado. It's right there for them now. They get this one next week at home against Oklahoma State. I think they win that game. This is essentially to go to Big 12 championship game. But I think Colorado loves the stage. That part of that's the coach, part of that's the quarterback. They haven't failed to cover a game since September the 7th. I know, Jimmy, look, at some point every streak comes to an end, but I'm going to go with Colorado. I think they're the better team here. I think they're built for a game like this with the big stage. So I'm going to take the Buffaloes -2.5. Going to take Duke plus. I believe we're getting 3 here against Virginia Tech. Duke is at home. Maybe the last stretch for Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. There's rumors up there. And Duke's solid. They probably should have beat SMU. Their other losses are at Miami and Georgia Tech. I think they're a hard out. I think they're an honest team. So give me the home team and the points here with Duke. Virginia Tech fading just a little bit here. In my last game, I'm going to take UCLA. Last I saw, this was 5.
4.5.
4.5, okay. At the Rose Bowl. Points in a rivalry game. First off, I'll take that. But USC, when they made the change at quarterback, rushed for 185 yards against Nebraska. UCLA's rush defense is 7th in the country, one of the more surprising stats when I looked it up. They have been able to defend the run, so they put all of the pressure on the UNLV transfer. I'll take UCLA, the home team, and the points in the rivalry game with the good rush defense against USC.
I thought this game, that line was going to be 3, right under, maybe 2.5, but USC did cover. They score with up 21-20, laying 7 to make it 28-20 to barely cover against Nebraska with just under 3 minutes to go. UCLA went to Seattle. Washington's undefeated. Minus Washington State against the spread. Both USC and UCLA lost and failed to cover in Seattle against the Huskies. I like UCLA at home. And, man, is there a team that's, I know it's Pasadena from maybe a 20, 30-minute ride from campus, but isn't that better than Piscataway, New Jersey, Baton Rouge, Happy Valley?
You don't have to check your luggage.
Hawaii. I mean, UCLA got a lot of travelers.
They do lead the league in frequent flyer miles, right?
Yes. Yeah. Nobody's traveled like UCLA this year, so maybe a little extra home field advantage, and maybe a little different approach on the budget of the hire, huh? Lincoln Riley and all that they gave him, and Deshaun Foster. Yeah.
And here we are with exactly the same record. Is that right? They're both 5-5.
5-5 and 6 and
4 and 6. UCLA 4 and 6.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, Duke. Who's Duke got again, Charlie?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Disappointing season. It started in Nashville against Vanderbilt. It's a hard team for me to kind of figure. Duke plus the 3 at home. Colorado. That's going to be interesting. Kansas is playing better, so that's going to be a very interesting game. BYU, with the age of that team, can they handle a loss like that a little bit better? I don't know. The only thing I like about Arizona State here, Arizona State, remember with Cam Rise in the Friday night game against Utah? BYU's a lot better than Utah. I know they struggled in Salt Lake City, but I'm having a hard time getting both teams I like, kind of the way they're. Arizona State jumped on Kansas State early, hung on to win late, but Arizona State and Indiana is just going down and down. They're betting. So it was 13.5 a day and a half ago. It's now 10.5. What, Max?
A couple other notes. Lincoln Riley 2-11 at USC as a road favorite, so it's been a very rough spot for him, laying 4.5 this week.
How much of a road game is this, though?
30 minutes. You just said it yourself.
That's fair.
No, that's UCLA. Their drive. It's USC from the south side. No, that's going to be a little.
From USC to UCLA is about
an hour.
An hour.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Another point to make.
Charlie, a half an hour. Go ahead.
Virginia Tech quarterback Kyron Jones questionable. He has not practiced this week, so that's another
big guy
thing for Duke. Yeah, the quarterback.
Okay, all right.
Max coming in, making my argument for me. Thank you, Max. It's nice to have you today.
Maeva is not. They made Miller Moss, but
big Russian attack last week really kind of spurred them against Nebraska.
Yes. When UCLA's defense can hold that running back in check, we will see. Hey, don't forget our friends over at Total Diamond Performance. Total Diamond Performance. My buddy Matt Mastretta, man, not far away from tournament ball. They'll start around the first of the year or maybe in December, but. Man, how about their high school fall baseball program? So We got the other one that is starting right now, next week, November 25th to December 20th. So next week starts our session 3. It's 4-week session offering a blend of skill acquisition training, throwing, hitting, defense, paired with strength and agility training. Players will be placed in small groups to optimize quality of instruction and maximize repetitions. It's a great chance to get your tournament player a little bit jump on the rest of the competition and ultimately allow them to enjoy their season with a little bit more success. So contact Nick Schneider at nick@tdpbaseball.com, nick@tdpbaseball.com. Total Diamond Performance 2024 High School Fall Baseball Program.
Jimmy's Picks coming back when we return here at Rufino's Log of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy Ott's 5-pack of picks, brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
Holiday season too. Try the parboil rice again. You're trying to get that restaurant quality when you boil your rice at home, steam your rice at home. Hey, make sure you get the parboil rice. It's the latest latest item that they have out in the shelves or your Baton Rouge area grocery stores. 3-2 last week, 30-29-1. One game over 500 for the season. All right, teams that have made a switch that are playing better, no question. Air Force, myself, Bruce Marshall on the same page here. Not crazy about the line going from 3 to 2.5. 2.5 plus a little juice right now. Our friends at the Queen Casino, where we'll be this weekend for Football Sunday. Again, Quentin, help me out, Max. Quentin Harris, what's his name? I mean, he's a new quarterback, and man, they're running it like throwing the ball maybe 6 times a game. I mean, run. It's all like 4 or 5 yard plays. I mean, really controlling the clock. Quentin Hayes, the new guy for the Falcons, plus the 2.5. Kansas State, fell behind, got bum rushed, blindsided by Arizona State early. Turnover, boom, they're down 21-0 at half in the Little Apple. Get back to track. Got a great coach. They'll bounce back against an inferior opponent here. Kansas State -9. Same thing with Iowa State. Heavy is the crown. Charlie Hunt, just like the new Linkin Park song says. Yes, was a little bit too much for him, but they're kind of, covered easily. Won by 17 last week. Like a -7 again against Utah, who has certainly had a couple of emotional weeks against BYU, the close loss. And then they were competitive for a while. Had the ball covering in plus territory with just 6 minutes to go. But Iowa State, much better team here against Utah that's just limping to the finish line. Is this it for Whittingham in Salt Lake City? Louisville, Bruce and I talked about it. You went out of your way to lose that game. Now Pitt, Holstein, probably not going to go in this one. They had a big effort last week against Clemson. They were right there, lost the lead. Klubnik with a 50-yard touchdown run to end it in the last minutes of the game. So how will they rebound here? Louisville's back home where they're more favorable. Louisville minus the 7.5. And in Minnesota, row the boat, baby. Keep this one close against Penn State. Penn State's best win? USC, Illinois. Minnesota's beat those teams. Yep. So they had won 4 in a row before they got tripped up on the road against Rutgers. Give me one of these teams that are in the playoff right now, but on the road against a capable opponent. Gophers plus the 12. So Air Force, Kansas State, Iowa State, Louisville, and Minnesota. Paul Stone has been telling us about this Texas A&M game. Well, that's next week. Exactly. Look ahead spot. Here's Paul Stone talking about one of those games involving the look ahead spot for A&M at Texas. Texas hosting Kentucky.
You're listening to Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
I tell you, here in my home state of Texas, Jimmy, ever since it was announced just over 3 years ago that Texas and Oklahoma would be going to the SEC, here in the state of Texas, everybody's been talking about the game. And the game is Texas and Texas A&M renewing their rivalry for the first time since 2011. But that game's next week. And first things first, the Longhorns have to face pesky Kentucky in Austin this Saturday, as you mentioned, as almost 3 touchdown favorites. And although Kentucky 1-6 in the 15th slot in the 16-team SEC, they have had their moments, and they have been at their best against the better teams on their schedule. They've played 3 top 7 teams that were ranked in the top 7 at the time of the game, and they've covered against all 3. Texas will be the 4th. In fact, they played in week 3. As we know, they were 22.5-point home underdogs to Georgia, then ranked number 1, lost that game by a single point, 13-12, after leading at halftime. And then 2 weeks later, you mentioned when they traveled to Oxford, Mississippi to play Ole Miss, then ranked number 6. They were getting 15 in that game, and of course won outright 20-17. And then almost 3 weeks ago, Kentucky led 7th-ranked Tennessee at the half. Ultimately lost that game 28-18. They were 17.5-point underdogs on the road. So 3-0 against the spread is Kentucky against 3 top 7 teams that they face so far. So I'm not saying Texas is overlooking Kentucky, that they're treating them as an afterthought, but these young men are human beings, and it's part of the human condition to look ahead, to look forward, to think of what is possible and what might be. I think Texas has one eye towards College Station. Their offense hadn't been off the charts the last few weeks. I like Kentucky plus 20.5 over Texas.
All right, so there's Paul Stone with his picks. He likes Kentucky plus a 20. Rotating a couple of quarterbacks. Bruce Marshall likes his pick as well. Kentucky, this is it. This is their last conference game. They'll play their rivalry game against Louisville next week. But 1-7. 1-7. They're 1-6 and 20-point dogs for 1-7 with a win against a team that's in the playoff right now in Ole Miss on the road.
I'm surprised we're getting this retirement talk out of Lexington with Stoops. This was a guy that a year ago was about to take the Texas A&M job, and he wasn't planning on retiring. So if he's retiring, it almost feels like he's being pushed out, and you wonder how many ruffled feathers there was over him. I mean, he was on the doorstep of taking that job, and then the whole thing.
I think he's got a lot of money owed to him if they're pushing him out.
No question, and I don't know what it is. But
Charlie, he is a kind of a prickly pear. Okay,
when you got one foot out the door, and then you come back and go, no, I was just joking. It's hard to walk that back.
Well, Kentucky's not. I mean, you're not leaving for a comparable program. He's done some good things at Kentucky.
You're not
but
wrong.
There is a limit there. There is a ceiling, and he has a ceiling as a coach. I think this is, if you want to talk about one of the guys at the top of the list is tired of playing this transfer portal game, recruiting 365 days a year, he'd be near the top of my list.
You're right about the ceiling, and you're right about the program he'd be leaving for, but don't tell Kentucky that. All they see is our guy was ready to leave us, and then they pull the rug out from under him, and now we're stuck with him.
And they are spending more on their facilities or their football budget than they ever have. Now they got the SEC money to justify it,
right.
But I don't know. But he's been there a long time. He's been there a long time.
12 years.
That's a long time in this league. And so, knowing his personality, I got to believe he's pissed somebody off in that administration at some point. And now you go 1-7. Now's the time maybe that some of those people have been waiting to kind of. Yeah. It's a long time.
I think that A&M thing left a bad taste in a lot of Kentucky people's mouths. It
didn't help, but I think 12 years and 1-7.
He'd be 7-1. They could have got over it. He's
no, we wouldn't be talking about it. Right. But I'm not. I don't know if he's ready to leave all that money just yet. So
maybe some kind of settlement.
Don't forget, we were over at Jolie Pearl yesterday. Hey, you staying downtown for the LSU Vandy game this weekend, the Oklahoma game next weekend, or some friends staying there? Oh man, Jolie Pearl is just within walking distance of all the major hotels downtown. So hey, holiday parties, it's now the time is to reserve your spot for the holiday parties, and starting next Friday is going to be. There are Christmas decorations, and then there's what they do with the pop-up over at Jolie Pearl. A lot of people go downtown just for a drink and a bite to eat, maybe some oysters. Love those Beausoleil oysters downtown as well. The petite oysters, full of flavor, floating oysters, not from the dirt, Charlie. The clean, clean, clean. Love that stuff over at Jolie Pearl. So holiday parties and Christmas pop-up, go check it out. A lot of people go for photo ops and just kind of get in the spirit of the holiday season. Jolie Pearl and Town Square Pizza downtown. You got hockey again tonight. Had it last night. Make that your meeting place. Max's picks when we come back. He had a winning week last week, 3-2. And we'll return with his picks to close things out. Football Sunday is in town this weekend and next weekend for the holidays at the Queen Casino at the DraftKings Sportsbook, 10 a.m. to noon this Sunday and next Sunday at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Lock of the Week Friday presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Max, 5 college picks and then some good words about LSU basketball. It starts here in about 40 minutes.
Yeah, so I hate this week, but I managed to come up with 5 picks. Going to start off with tonight's game. San Jose State catches 7.5 against UNLV. Both these teams have failed to cover in 5 of their last 6 games, but San Jose State has been pretty good in this series, winning 8 of the last 10 games. UNLV, the one strength of their defense is run defense. Well, bad news is San Jose State just doesn't run the ball. They're second to last in the FBS in rush attempts, so they're not going to try to really go after UNLV's strongest unit defensively. So I think San Jose State at home covers the 7.5. You already heard from Paul. Kentucky plus 20 at Texas. This is a clear look ahead spot for Texas. Kentucky on the road at Tennessee, played them close. On the road, beat Ole Miss. Maybe they have another one in them on the road at Texas. Northwestern catching 10.5 against Michigan. Look ahead spot for Michigan. They've got Ohio State, the big one, next week. And they've averaged 20 points a game. This is a low total. They're laying 10.5. That's too many, and a team that just doesn't score the ball, in my opinion. Nebraska -1 against Wisconsin. They're at home. Nebraska's feeling good about themselves, maybe even better than LSU as a fan base right now. It's been a while since they could say that, but they're trying to get bowl eligible for the first time in a long time. This is their opportunity. I think they're about the same team as Wisconsin, but at home, they'll be energized. Only laying 1, I'll take Nebraska. And finally, my lock of the week, UConn plus 10.5 at Syracuse. UConn, their strength is running the ball. Syracuse, not very good at running the ball or run defense at all. So I think they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit. And their secondary is good enough to stop Kyle McCord. So this is way too many points, in my opinion. UConn's been a formidable team this season, and they've won their last 3 games. I think they go into the Carrier Dome or the old Carrier Dome and play them competitively.
In 10 seconds, tell me why Nebraska's feeling good about themselves after losing 4 games in a row.
They've got a coach.
Okay.
Football Sunday live here at the Queen Casino at the DraftKings Sportsbook, 10 a.m. to noon. We'll be over there all weekend as well, this weekend and next weekend. Lock of the week, Charlie.
Monday, we're at Big Mike's at 10 a.m. Include the Brian Kelly press conference from all of us here at Rufino's. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.